Hey y'all, I hope you're well, whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever you are, however you are. Thanks for clicking on this video, supporting the channel. So lately, we've been having some pretty cool conversations, getting into depth about the different dimensions, the fourth dimension and the fifth dimension, and how those fifth dimensional energies are present, I feel are gonna be more present here this year. And these videos are just to kind of help y'all kind of be able to recognize the difference in these different dimensions and kind of like the themes of them, and just so you can navigate it. Even if you haven't achieved inner enlightenment or whatever, you can at least have some sort of framework or structure to kind of build off of. But this is not spiritual advice. I'm not your savior. This is not a religion. This is not a cult. This is just my truth, and I'm sharing it with y'all. But my truth is also, kind of pragmatic as well as spiritual. That's just how I move. But anyways, let's get to it. We've been talking about the fourth and fifth dimension because this channel's been up for a minute, and I've been able to explain things like the divine feminine and the masculine and everything, so that way we can kind of now start to talk about these multiple dimensions, and then we can start to understand how these things operate, right? Like I mentioned before, the fourth dimension being the mind, the mental plane, right? A thing that we can all access at right now at any given time. You can be in the physical, right? You can wiggle your big toe, you can wag your finger, you can do literally whatever you want in the third dimension, right? But then you also have this ability to explore into another plane that's not physically here, right? You can go into past memories. You can think of jingles in your head. You have instructions to certain games or certain devices and stuff. Like, we all have such a backlog of information that we can draw from, in visual imagination that we can tap into, So we have just as much as you can move your fingers and move your legs and your feet, you have just as much ability to access other dimensions, right? It's just, it's not in a physical matter, it's in a mental matter, but it's still you. It's still emanating from the same control room, control source, or whatever you want to call it. It's still your soul. It's just that your soul is transcends just the third, you know what I mean? So, so when we get to the fifth dimension, once we are able to transcend our mental plane, we're able to get over ourselves, so to speak. We get out of the ego trips, right? And the ego trips trip us up because of the thirds, right? Beginning, middle, and end. You'll get triggered, and then you'll experience the ego trip, which is like, whether your emotions are all hyped up and you're mad at somebody and you're like, yeah, that whole part of it, or the whole part where you're kind of at a point in your life where you're wanting something to change, or like, but it hasn't happened yet, or you're in the middle of that change, but it hasn't came full circle. It exists in so many ways. Like, there's so many ways that you can get caught up in ego trips. Short ego trips, long ego trips. Some people have ego trips that last lifetimes, where they're still trying to get over things, and they need therapy sessions to figure out themselves and figure out their ego and figure out what's going on, so they can get back to being able to, love themselves and understand the truth of who they are. I'm not gonna go too deep into ego trips. There's a whole video about that. But these are the parts, these are the hurdles of the fourth dimensional plane. Just like how in the third dimension, if you want to build your body up and if you want to become physically healthy and in shape, you have to work out, right? You have to go in endurance. You have to endure the aspects of yourself that aren't there. You know what I mean? You have to, if your muscles aren't strong, all right, well, you need to bring pain to those muscles, you know what I mean? So that way they can become stronger, right? You have to focus on those things. So just like that, there's another aspect of ourselves that's in the mental plane that consists of our ego, consists of all these things that we, our fears, our dreams. But I talked about the fourth dimension. There's already a video on that. So the fifth dimension. So this is what I mentioned before as the realm of the supers, right? The realm of your super self, your higher self. The version of you that lives a lot longer than this, that's way more powerful and way more mightier than this physical form. It's the conscious voice. It's where that realm comes from. Full Metal Alchemist, when he goes to see the gate of truth, and it looks like him, but it's just like a white thing. Yeah, that's the fifth dimension. Talking about superheroes, yeah, we're talking about fifth dimensional aspects of humanity, the superpowers, the Super Saiyans. That's another fifth dimensional thing. Supersonic, another fifth dimensional thing. Like Superman, fifth dimensional thing. Like star power, all those things. This is a fifth dimensional self. It's the version of you that's the higher version of you. That's your ultimate. Right now in our third, yeah, we try to get to our ultimate by, working out or making a certain amount of money or achieving some sort of balance. But, ultimately we are a shadow. No matter how great we become in this life, you're still a shadow of your fifth dimensional self. And that fifth dimensional self is so great, bro, or sis, that like, if your fifth dimensional self existed here on this plane, you'd be famous. You'd be worldwide known just because of your presence. We talk about aura and all this stuff. I'm telling you, your fifth dimensional self, when it comes to aura, it would literally out-aura anybody in this realm. By far. And that goes for anybody. That goes for anybody's fifth dimensional self, in my opinion. Because it's such a high frequency that if anybody from a fifth dimensional entity was to show up here, people would be looking at them like an angel, or looking at them like a god or a deity or something. So there's a version of you that's infinite and that's way cooler and better. I mean, we're cool here. We're really cool here. I'm not gonna like take anything away from us, but your super self, pretty much, right? It's gonna be cooler. Super Saiyan, obviously, stronger, more powerful than base Goku, right? We all know this. But once you unlock Super Saiyan, that's when the game really starts. So the fifth dimensional self is that aspect of who we are. It is the aspect of ourselves that is transformative, the butterfly. So once we achieve that, there is a moment of clarity that you have from just experiencing the fifth dimension, even for a moment's time, because it shines so much light to the construct of our existence, like to what is going on and why it's going on. It's so easy to see right away, but words don't do it justice. You know what I mean? Words, trying to translate things from the fifth dimension to the third can be really tricky. Like you pretty much have to do it in like graphically, but like when y'all see Alex Gray and certain paintings where it's all these like almost human souls, like body forms that are on fire, that look like they're on fire, and it's full of all these crazy colors like purple and orange and red and yellow, and it just looks like a spiritual thing. You can't really explain that in words to people too much. You know what I mean? You have to just kind of see it for yourself. It's that same aspect. But this is a light video. We're just kind of getting right back into the fifth dimensional aspects. We're going to get more deeper and dive more into it this week. But for now, small little recap. But we'll be back. All right, I'll see you soon.